Kavak gazed out the viewport of the sleek Gorokan shuttle as it entered Earth's atmosphere, enthralled by the alien world revealed below. Swirls of white clouds wrapped around the blue marble, dotted with emerald green continents and sapphire oceans. Magnificent, he clicked softly in his native tongue. After long years studying these humans from afar, the promise of revelation on their home soil tingled within his exoskeleton. The 5 Gorokan diplomats aboard chittered eagerly, their vestigial wings fluttering beneath their ceremonial robes. First contact missions were rare honors, and the mysteries of this young race, isolated on their distant planet yet advancing so quickly, tantalized the imagination. "Beginning descent to designated coordinates," reported the shuttle pilot, his antennae aimed at the controls. The engines purred as they glided towards North America. Below, mountains crested on the horizon, snow-capped peaks giving way to rumpled golden hills and fertile green valleys. Ribbons of highway and housing developments receded beneath them. Then, sprawling urban centers came into view, gleaming geometric patterns of concrete and steel and glass. Washington, D.C. soon loomed ahead, verdant parks interwoven with monuments and government buildings. Kavak spotted the white dome of their destination, the United States Capitol. Settling on the expansive lawn, the shuttle extended its landing gear and touched down gently. As the doors slid open, warm sunshine and floral-scented air rushed in, so different from the climate-controlled interior. Kavak's olfactory nodes drank in the rich sensory data. A delegation of human diplomats awaited them, clad in formal wear. The band struck up a lively fanfare as the Gorokans descended the shuttle steps. At the fore stood Secretary of State Andrea Hewitt, her smile bright and earnest. "Greetings. On behalf of the United States of America, we welcome you to our capital and our planet. We hope all that you experience here furthers the cause of peace and understanding between our peoples." She extended her slender hand. Kavak extended a furry manipulator in return, clasping gently as their species had practiced prior to this moment. "Your hospitality honors us," Kavak replied through his translation device. "We look forward to learning firsthand about your civilization." As cameras flashed around them, he took care to posture his weight evenly on his 6 insectoid legs, an upright, respectful stance. His inner layer of wings remained tucked discreetly beneath his robes. Secretary Hewitt now gestured towards the grand building behind them. "Please, right this way. We've prepared comfortable accommodations for your delegation inside the Capitol. There are also refreshments tailored to your dietary needs." They proceeded up the steps and through the towering bronze doors. Kavak admired the soaring architecture, ornate yet sturdy. They passed vivid murals and statues of influential humans from eras past. Shortly, they arrived in the rotunda, where a large table was arranged with fruit, vegetables, grains, and assorted beverages. The humans had clearly done their research on Gorokan nutritional requirements. Kavak turned and clicked his mandibles gratefully. "You honor us with your consideration. My companions and I welcome the chance to sample your local delicacies." The diplomats sat down and began filling their plates. One, who relished his role as cultural attaché, dove right into an array of exotic produce. Kavak chuckled softly at his colleague's adventurous appetite. Through the afternoon, Secretary Hewitt escorted them on a tour of the capital's many wonders. Kavak admired the craftsmanship and artistry at every turn. When he complimented their aesthetic designs, Hewitt smiled proudly. "Wait until you see the Smithsonian museums," she promised. "Human creativity spans millennia and mediums." Kavak anticipated that visit eagerly. Finally, as the setting sun cast golden light through the rotunda, their party paused. "You must be weary from your long journey. Secretary Hewitt said kindly. "Let me show you to your guest rooms where you can rest and refresh yourselves." Kavak dipped his head in appreciation. He knew this sojourn on Earth would require much energy and an open spirit, but already this planet and its people enchanted him. What wonders lay in store on the days ahead? The next morning, Kavak joined his fellow diplomats in the Capitol Rotunda for an energizing breakfast. As he sipped a nutritious beverage, Secretary Hewitt arrived to usher them outside. "I thought we'd begin our tour by seeing some key landmarks here in Washington," she said brightly. Their motorcade made its way down tree-lined boulevards past historic sites like the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial. Kavak was struck by how reverently the humans preserved relics of their heritage. At the White House, the aliens were granted a brief yet poignant meeting with the president. Though pressed for time, he warmly grasped each diplomat's manipulator. "I hope you come to see the best of what Earth and humanity have to offer," he told them sincerely. Kavak was honored by his welcome. The next stop was the National Air and Space Museum, home to famous vessels like the Wright brothers' Flyer and Apollo 11. There, Kavak gained a new appreciation for humanity's intrepid spirit of exploration. "We have our sights set on the stars," a guide explained as they stood under the massive Saturn V rocket. Kavak clicked his mandibles encouragingly, relating this to his own people's journey between worlds. Afterwards, Secretary Hewitt suggested visiting the National Museum of Natural History. Its towering rotunda showcased breathtaking dioramas of Earth's ecological diversity. From the depths of the oceans to the highest mountain peaks, our planet harbors beautiful and fragile habitats, she noted. Kavak admired the realistic scenes, so unlike his homeworld. Delving deeper into the museum, the aliens were awed by ancient mammals and dinosaurs, brought to life in skeletal and reconstructed form. Human scientists had pieced together vanished eons through patient study. The delegates also observed hundreds of preserved plant specimens and cultural artifacts in vivid detail. Kavak realized he could spend weeks here, immersed in this account of Earth's rich history and life. By afternoon's end, the diplomats were happily exhausted. As the motorcade returned them to the capital, Kavak reflected on all he had experienced. Though so much was foreign, he felt a kinship with these people and their world. Their ingenuity, ambition, and reverence for knowledge resonated within him. He looked forward to the coming days of their visit. Back in the rotunda, Secretary Hewitt wished them a good evening. "Get some rest," she recommended. "Tomorrow you leave for New York City," Kavak trilled eagerly. If today was any indication, this exhilarating human metropolis would surely astound his senses. He settled in his quarters, anxious for tomorrow's revelations. Though far from home on this alien sphere, Kavak felt enveloped in hospitality. Without doubt, the promise of discovery here was boundless. What treasures awaited as their journey continued? The next leg of the Gorokan diplomatic tour began with a flight to New York City. As their aircraft descended towards Manhattan, Kavak gazed out in awe at the dense clusters of skyscrapers. Secretary Hewitt smiled at his reaction. "Quite the view, isn't it? This city captures humanity's boundless drive to build and create." From the tower of the Empire State Building, Kavak had a panoramic vista of New York's famous landmarks, grand bridges, green parks, glittering riverside vistas, and streets teeming with life. At ground level, the sensory feast continued. The aliens toured bustling Times Square, serene Central Park, and the reverent memorials to fallen police and firefighters. The energetic pace and crowded spaces often overwhelmed the diplomats. But there was joy as well, street performers dancing, food vendors serving exotic smells, jumbo screens flashing in mesmerizing lights. Kavak's favorite site was the Metropolitan Museum of Art. He wandered spellbound through vaulted halls filled with humanity's creative brilliance, paintings, sculptures, fashion, furnishings, and more from across the ages. "Your species' artistry has no limits," he exclaimed, charmed by a gallery of Monet's radiant water lilies. His companions lingered just as enthralled over Van Gogh's vibrant strokes. That evening, Secretary Hewitt escorted them to dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant known for cosmopolitan cuisine. Kavak savored every flavorful bite. On the final day, she took them to Broadway. As the theater lights dimmed, Kavak sat transfixed through a powerful performance of Les Miserables. The soaring music and dramatic tale transcended language. Departing New York, the delegates were already nostalgic. "Your cities overflow with marvels," Kavak told Secretary Hewitt. "I see now why humans gather in such thriving hives." She laughed. "Just wait. Your next stop is the American West. Vast open spaces that will take your breath away." Kavak fluttered his vestigial wings in anticipation. Thus far, these travels had unveiled humanity's genius flourishing within crowded metropolises. He was eager to experience their connection to the natural world. Their flight landed in Wyoming, gateway to Yellowstone National Park. A bushy, bearded park ranger greeted them. "We've got quite the tour planned," he assured them. "This wilderness has remained pristine for eons. Prepare to be amazed." And amazed they were. Kavak stood awestruck upon cliffsides watching bison roam valley floors. The geysers blasted towering plumes of mineral steam skyward. Hiking alpine trails, Kavak gained perspective on humanity's small, fleeting place within Earth's ancient timescale. Around glowing campfires at night, the ranger spoke of preserving such splendor. Kavak now saw this world through human eyes, at once magnificent, fragile, and worth fighting for. It contained endless multitudes, he realized. Having experienced their bustling cities and natural beauty, Kavak felt a deeper kinship with these enterprising, passionate, creative people. What a joy it was to explore life's possibilities at their side. The Gorokan diplomats bid farewell to Yellowstone, invigorated yet road-weary. Their journey next took them across Midwestern farmlands, then eastwards to the rugged Appalachian Mountains. Kavak admired the fertile patchwork fields and quaint hamlets along the way. But soon dramatic forested peaks rose around them. Secretary Hewitt grinned eagerly from the seat beside him. "I can tell you've enjoyed wide open spaces," she said, "so I thought you'd like to spend a few days tucked away in the Smoky Mountains." The fresh alpine air and trailing mist intrigued Kavak's senses as they drove into Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Birds sang and streams babbled audibly in the secluded wooded valleys. At the rustic lodge quarters, their host was Willie Jimson, a park trailblazer. "Howdy, folks," he greeted warmly. "Let me be the first to welcome y'all to a real slice of paradise." Kavak soon saw why. They spent the next days hiking sun-dappled trails, observing wildlife, and marveling at waterfalls pouring like liquid jewels down sheer mountainsides. Around glowing campfires at night, Willie shared colorful tales of the park's history and ecology. Kavak was fascinated by humans' deep roots in places like these. One morning, Willie led them down a winding trail. "Got a real special spot to show you," he said with a twinkle. The path ended at a mist-veiled overlook. As the clouds parted, Kavak gasped. Spread below them was an epic landscape of hazy blue ridges marching to the horizon. "Magnificent, isn't it?" Willie remarked. "No matter how often I see it, takes my breath away every time." Kavak observed the scene in reverent silence. Gazing out at such grandeur, he felt profoundly connected to this living world and its stoic human protectors. On their final day, the diplomats reluctantly packed up to depart. But Secretary Hewitt had one last surprise. a chance to meet some wild black bears. They gathered at an overlook above a grassy valley. Soon a mother lumbered out with two playful cubs. Kavak was delighted by their antics. "Your planet's creatures are as wondrous as the landscapes," he told Secretary Hewitt. She smiled proudly. Bidding the mountains goodbye, Kavak's mind brimmed with details that would forever evoke this place's magic. He understood now what made locations like these so beloved by humans. Their return flight's path took them over more quintessential scenes: orchards ripe with fruit, tractors plowing fertile fields, sunlight glinting off the Golden Gate Bridge. Gazing down at this bountiful land, Kavak gained new insight into the human relationship with their world. He now recognized Earth itself as humanity's home, provider, and priceless charge. What a privilege it had been to wander briefly as an awed guest. The Gorokin's mission of bridge building had been profoundly furthered here. Kavak hoped one day to welcome these thoughtful stewards into his own planet's wilds. The Gorokin diplomatic tour's final stop was Los Angeles, where Secretary Hewitt planned a celebratory send-off banquet. Kavak gazed pensively out the shuttle window as the glittering metropolis came into view below. The week spent exploring California delivered delights both urban and natural. In San Francisco, the aliens toured the bustling waterfront, golden-gated vistas, and the city's historic cable cars. Yosemite then stunned Kavak with sheer cliffs and booming waterfalls amid pristine wilderness. Once again, humanity's balance between development and preservation impressed him. Arriving in Los Angeles, Kavak was awed by the sprawling cityscape and sunny beaches. For their final excursions, Secretary Hewitt took them to iconic sites like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Griffith Observatory, and Disneyland. At the legendary amusement park, Kavak and his enthralled comrades enjoyed thrilling rides, shows, and wonders evoking fantasy realms. Kavak appreciated this venue that sparked joy and imagination in people of all ages. Too soon, their last evening in California arrived. At the banquet hall, a sumptuous feast from many cultures awaited, representing the diversity Kavak had come to admire in humanity. When the meal concluded, Secretary Hewitt stepped to the podium. "Esteemed friends, we hope this tour has conveyed humanity's spirit, creativity, and stewardship of our fragile planet." Kavak rose to offer his remarks. "When we first landed, you welcomed us with open hearts, then guided us on an unforgettable journey. We have been deeply honored." He swept his gaze across the dignitaries gathered. "In you, we found ingenuity and artistry, reverence for wilderness, and caring for your fellow beings. You have won our lasting friendship." Thunderous applause filled the hall. Kavak was touched to see some people dabbing their eyes, realizing these encounters had been profound for both species. Later, saying individual goodbyes, Secretary Hewitt grasped Kavak's manipulator warmly. "I hope you'll come back soon, my friend. There is so much more to discover here." "Of that I have no doubt," Kavak replied sincerely. "We look forward to the day your people can visit our world in return." The time finally came for the shuttle liftoff. As Earth receded from view, Kavak's companions chattered excitedly about all they had experienced. His own mind brimmed with details and sensations that would forever kindle fond memories. Settling into his quarters that night, Kavak knew this mission's goal of connection had been achieved, and an optimistic new chapter begun. Though galaxies apart, the Gorokin and human races now had a foundation of fellowship and promise. Kavak's dreams that night were not of the alien landscapes that amazed him, but of the people themselves, their creativity, diversity, spirit, and caretaker's love for the living planet they called home. This journey had forged lasting bonds between two worlds. Though far from over, the voyage of mutual discovery had truly just begun.